welcome back to another edition of the Dirty Verdict Podcast. I'm host Peter Taaffe, joined as always by full-time litigator and trial lawyer Kyle Herbert. And also full-time litigator, trial lawyer of the year 2023, Bill Ogden.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, guys. We're going to do news. We have guests sometimes, and we do news sometimes. I think Amanda has got us a lot of guests lined up over the next couple months, so we thought we'd try to squeeze in one last news update before we got into it.
Let's squeeze it.
All right. So the hottest kind of legal story with the Houston tie is the P. Diddy versus Tony Buzbee versus Jay-Z cases, which, of course, to reset, we've got Buzbee representing clients that are filing suit against P. Diddy in New York, have added some other people, including in one case Jay-Z. Update on that one recently on Valentine's Day, actually. The Buzbee client, the Buzbee law firm, dismissed that case with prejudice.
Well, that's a gift of love on a day of love, you know?
Yeah.
So that case is over.
And that was the one against Jay-Z.
Yeah. I don't know if he dismissed the whole case or if he just non-suited the separate claims against Jay-Z, also Sean Carter. So that case it's dismissed. We've talked about this. You have dismissals without prejudice, meaning you can refile them. You have dismissals with prejudice. Usually cases that are dismissed with prejudice are only done after a settlement is reached.
I don't think a settlement was reached in this instance.
But yes, by all accounts. Mr. Carter put out a very strong statement indicating that no money had changed hands for that.
But maybe they bartered with just total consciousness.
Yeah. Songs, maybe some unpublished songs.
Do you so Mr. Z has been talking a lot about some sort of retaliatory lawsuit against Mr. Buzbee.
Yes. So if you'll recall, Mr. Carter, under the moniker John Doe, had filed a case in Los Angeles early on saying that Buzbee was intimidating him or trying to blackmail him, and then by filing this case. So since the dismissal, the Valentine's Day dismissal, I've seen some reports that Sean Carter, Jay-Z, says that he lost $20 million in contracts and business because of the lawsuit. Now, some people who, you don't know what you read things on the internet, they're alluding to the fact that he's now suing Buzbee for $20 million. I haven't seen that. So that's the gray area we've got right now.
So we're waiting to see.
Yep.
I just Googled it because I thought I saw something along these lines, but it looks like yesterday the Southern District of New York denied Tony's admission.
Yes, that was a hot topic yesterday because the news story was he was barred from practicing law in New York. Tony went on Instagram and posted a picture of his license showing that he is admitted to practice in the state of New York in the state courts, which is unique. Most lawyers, are only licensed in the state they reside in. He, several years ago, took all the tests to be a New York state licensed.
He took the bar for New York?
I don't know if it was reciprocal or but he had to take some kind of credential to get that. And then, but as we all know, in federal court, you have to also be admitted to practice. It's a little, if you're like in Texas, pretty pro forma to get in. You just have to file, I think, maybe have a recommendation or two. In New York, if you're going up there, you've got to ask for either join the New York Southern District of New York Bar or ask for pro hoc vici, meaning admitted for just that case.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, as he'd filed some of these cases, he had done so before seeking pro hoc status. I think most people say the best way to do it is have a local lawyer file the case initially and then immediately ask for the outside lawyer
to pro hoc
permission to pro hoc. So apparently someone had filed a grievance with their Southern District of New York, whatever committee considers those, and they came out and posted a order that said his pro hocs were denied or revoked or just weren't going to be allowed, and then he needed to come reapply as things came along. He posted, I think today, that he plans to appeal that. He didn't think he did anything wrong. So
It gets, I just ran into this recently. It gets dicey when because like a lot of times you'll see the file, I see the answer filed in lawsuits against me, where national counsel is in. And so you'll see the name from the filer, and then under it, it'll say counsel. And then under it, it'll say pro hoc vice pending. And I didn't realize that was such a big no-no. But
or forthcoming.
Yeah.
I've seen that too.
And not supposed to do that. But I've seen it done a ton. And frankly, I don't see why it's such a big deal, but I just couldn't remember what I saw yesterday.
Yeah. So that's the story there. But he still has several cases against P. Diddy.
So was the pro hoc for the purpose of defending himself?
No, that's for the other case that Jay-Z's filed against him is in Los Angeles Superior Court, their version of state court. The New York cases are just the ones that Buzbee has filed against P. Diddy and then some others.
Huh.
So those are still ongoing. He continues to file those. We saw P. Diddy's, one of his lawyers has exited
Withdrawn
the building and kind of made it sound like they weren't getting along. He wasn't getting along with his client very well.
I have never seen a case where the lawyers were such in play.
Right.
Like it's like the media doesn't talk about the plaintiffs. They just talk about Tony. It reminds me a little bit of Avenatti, but he didn't even get this with the Stormy Daniels stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't even come close to what Tony's getting on this side. It's it's shocking because it's like Jay-Z's waging war against Tony Buzbee. And I'm like, that's why, what?
Yep.
It's very odd.
Well, go ahead, Kyle.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, why is that?
There's no question Tony's a big personality, but at the same time, and I guess maybe the way that they're filed, they're all Jane Doe. So maybe some of their,
I think every time they have challenged, the defendants have challenged the Jane Doe filing, the courts have ordered them to say who they are.
Okay. Then I don't know why there's such an attraction to the media and defendants or previous defendants talking about Tony.
So along those lines, 2 former Buzbee law firm clients had sued him and his firm in Louisiana federal court for taking, whatever.
Longshore harbor workers payments or something. Is that the one you're talking about?
There were they referenced some maintenance and cure that other people had, not them. Theirs was things like the expenses and promises that were made or whatever. Tony says they're completely frivolous cases, and he has moved to strike those complaints and for sanctions against the lawyers for filing.
Who are the lawyers filing?
It's some solo or small firm. And
that's another odd thing. We have to, elephant in the room. It's weird. No matter how high profile the case it is, I've never seen it before where all of a sudden clients from the plaintiff's lawyer are popping up all over the country suing him for wrongdoings from years before.
Well, there was one in New York, and that one has since been dismissed with prejudice, that client. These 2 in Louisiana, so that ties into your question and also this story. So the Buzbee law firm had sued Rock Nation, which is Jay-Z's production company, the Quinn Emanuel firm that's representing him, a lawyer, I think, based in Mississippi, and another private investigator type, claiming not only that they put these 2 guys in Louisiana up to sue Tony, but also they're contacting all of his friends, family members, former employees, former colleagues, even his own daughter, to try and get the ex-clients or the current clients to fire him, saying, we're doing a class action, we're investigating this, we're implying they're with the government.
Yeah, but the timing is odd.
Right.
And it's I've never seen anything like it.
Well, Tony's allegation in that case is that this is a Jay-Z, Rock Nation, Quinn Emanuel concerted effort to ruin him, take his clients, interrupt his business operations, and that's why he filed that case. They removed it to federal court. They're subject to all kinds of briefing in that case. I think Rock Nation says we don't know anything about this investigator. So,
Tony found himself in absolute beehive. It's a lot. More power to him.
Is that
He's not afraid of anybody.
Is that an allusion to Beyonce?
Oh no, it was not meant to be.
I thought you were talking about it was the Buzz.
Yeah, bee.
But the
Buzbee.
Isn't she the queen bee?
She's not the Buzbee.
Yeah, but we're not talking. It's not like we're we're breaking anything. I mean, Jay-Z has not minced any words on how he feels about Tony and vice versa. So
Yeah, I'm still. That's another thing. Why does Jay-Z still have such strong feelings against Tony?
because he thinks he's the one that's behind all this, that came up with the idea to sue him.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
He had a client
Yeah.
with a story. She went on national news. Like, what Tony took the client's words for it, and started prosecuting the case. It apparently fell apart or whatever happened, and he dismissed it. What did Tony do wrong there?
Well, he's saying, Jay-Z is saying, well, I mean, it'd be one thing if you accused me of being negligent in operating a motor vehicle, but you're accusing me of committing child rape. And then I've got a wife and kids. My daughter was just about to have her debut of The Lion King, and you strategically dropped this lawsuit right before it, which is something that caused him a lot of heartburn. So Jay-Z is taking this a little personally.
I get it.
and then I think the idea that, I mean, how many years old was the allegation?
It's like 15. No, like 20.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty serious claim. And if it's 20 years old, I mean, I think I've told this to you guys privately. Maybe I've said it on the podcast. Like, I'm not going to file that case unless there's a video and a bunch of witnesses and maybe a medical exam, corroborating. I'm not going to take somebody's 20-year-old's word for it.
I think that the lawyers who represented probably 60 to 70% of the Boy Scout victims would disagree with you.
Yep.
Well, some of those are 50 years old.
Hold on. But there's a pattern there.
There was a pattern here too. Tony still represents 100 victims.
Against P. Diddy.
Yeah, but if you have a victim that comes up and says, yeah, not only did he, but there was friends. And by the way, there's no doubt that, they were friends back in the day to some extent. Like, I mean, I don't.
That's right.
That doesn't rub me wrong in any way. It's just the reaction of it all. It's surprising. I get the aspect of they were, daughter's debut and all that stuff and the timing. I don't say this is. I'd be hard pressed to see Tony outing Jay-Z in that lawsuit strategically based on the date of his daughter releasing Mufasa. Unless maybe I'd underestimated Tony on that one, but I didn't. That takes a lot of thought, especially when you're already dealing with 100 of them ongoing.
Yeah. Well, Jay-Z obviously thinks so.
No, sure. I get it.
And so he, like I said, he has put out there somewhere that he lost $20 million in actual business in addition to reputational harm. So I don't know if he's going to actually sue him. I don't know what the claim would be, malicious prosecution, since it.
I don't think Tony's a state actor.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. I don't know. You'd have to obviously.
It's not malicious prosecution. It could be abusive process.
Oh, okay.
Possibly that.
Because you go in law. Oh.
Yeah, I know. I handled an abusive process, malicious prosecution claim. Won it on summary judgment. But that idea for not malicious prosecution, abusive process, you have to be bringing the claim for a purpose that is outside the context of the lawsuit, right? Like you could file an emergency bankruptcy pleading against someone for the purpose of ruining their business, right? Like a non-voluntary bankruptcy. And if the claimant can prove you didn't really want to recover the things that were in the lawsuit, I'm just saying it's a really high bar to bring a abusive process case.
Kyle over here spitting bars.
Ask me all your questions for it.
Yeah. And well, it's an issue on statute of limitations. So we all know in Texas, for a tort, it's a 2-year statute.
Not for a sexual assault tort.
Well, I know that is. Well, tell me, Bill. It used to be it was 4 when I was practicing law, and I know many states have changed it to as high as 20 years.
15, I believe, and I got to go back and look at it, but I believe in Texas it's 15 or whatever happens, it's like 15 or 32, whatever comes first, or so. 32 years old of the plaintiff. There's like a
Got it.
a 2-step process to it.
So
But Texas expanded it a few years ago in response to kind of everything that was going on in the Catholic Church stuff.
Yeah, and Boy Scouts, et cetera. So the idea on statute of limitations, right, we're taught this in law school, is that it's not meant to screw people around. It's just the idea that memories get hazy after 2 years. And so you won't have as credible evidence. That's where I think it is rooted in kind of the common law. So here's a situation where this happened a long time ago. Now it's the argument to expand lengthened statutes in sexual assault cases is because a lot of the victims deal with it by repressing it and never reporting it. And then
Especially the men. Like the average age in the I want to say it was the Catholic Church litigation, might have been Boy Scouts, but the average age was like 57.
yeah.
For plaintiffs that came forward that were victims of abuse.
So as a child, you repress it, you don't talk about it, it's so painful, your brain tries to just put it out of and then you become an old guy like us and start going to therapy, and bam, that thing just pops out, and
I know
and pops out of your head, and you got it.
When something big happens, like especially in the news, it opens up some sort of safe space for you to come forward as well, and you feel like you're not the only one, and you're not alone in doing it. So a lot of them come together. A lot of them, come. I don't want to say come out, but they reveal themselves at once.
Emerge.
Those instances, emerge. Good word, Peter.
Yeah, from the depths. Anyhow, that's our legal update on the P. Diddy cases. So. One recent Houston area verdict.
Well, real quick.
Yeah.
So Puffy lost like the lead criminal lawyer.
Defense lawyer. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. So, I mean, like,
under no set of circumstances can I continue my representation.
Right.
Yeah. So it sounds like, well, I'm not going to think of a couple of reasons why that happens. One, your client's a lunatic. Two, your client says, I did it. I want you to go lie for me and tell them I didn't do it.
Three, you're not getting paid.
Three, you're not getting paid. Excuse me. I mean, we've all had clients, right, who at some point we had to say, look, I'm not the best lawyer for you, which usually means you're nuts. But I mean, it sounds like this judge is like going to keep the current trial schedule, right? Isn't it set to go to trial like summertime, May?
I haven't seen what the judge is going to do with the.
That'd be a tough spot for whoever. That puts him at a burden of trying to find replacement counsel.
Well, I mean, the defendants are saying, well, sorry. I don't know if it's the prosecution is saying this, but I heard from a report from a well-placed lawyer, which I assume means someone on the prosecution, that they anticipated this was going to happen. That Puffy's team has been saying.
I don't think you can call him Puffy. It's just Diddy.
P. Diddy.
I apologize.
Puff Daddy.
Nope. Just Diddy. I think.
Just the Diddy.
Yeah. Not
What's
the
his,
Z.
what's his birth name?
Sean Combs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
he was Sean Puffy Combs, and then Sean Puff Daddy Combs, and then he was Sean Diddy Combs, P. Diddy Combs, then Diddy Combs. I think is how it all transitioned.
I watched some of
I
that.
had all of my tattoos removed, so I lose track now of the order.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
just have to X out each time, or
No, I just get
do it?
removed. It's like a little laser. It hurts a lot. 3 sessions.
I got a buddy who got a tattoo, the same tattoo that his father got. His father passed away, I think, a year ago. And then this year on Father's Day, he got a tattoo, and it was like a heart with an arrow. And I think it said like Debbie. And my friend's dad is not named, his mom is not named Debbie.
That's awesome.
And so at one point he said, when he was a teenager, he said, Dad, who's Debbie? And the dad said, don't ever ask me who Debbie is. And then his dad died. So he got a Debbie tattoo on his shoulder to honor his father and Debbie.
Shout out to all the Debbies out there.
Whoever Debbie is. It's beautiful.
Okay. Recent Houston area verdict. Scott West and Charles Hurd obtained a over $14 million verdict on a Jones Act case recently in down in Richmond. It was, I think there's a finding that maintenance and cure, which is what a ship owner owes an injured seaman, when they're hurt in the service of the ship, they're supposed to pay a daily rate for their lodging and all their medical care. When we were doing this in the olden days, it was $28 a day for your room and board. That apparently, according to this lawsuit, that particular offshore company had kept it right in that neighborhood in 2025. And I think that was one of the big points, is that is not grown with the times. And so that was malicious to withhold that from him.
Who was do you know who the company was?
I believe it was Noble Drilling was the defendant.
Really? Come on, Noble Drilling.
Yeah.
There's nothing noble about that conduct.
That would say that's ignoble.
In their defense, I think that's kind of the standard.
All right.
They're not allowed to share that information and antitrust violations, but it was always around that rate when I was in practice.
I'll tell Scott you were in their defense.
Yeah. No. I'm just,
Love Scott West. Shout out to Scott.
Good job, Scott. We'd love to have you and Maddie on.
Yeah.
And if you want us to kick Peter off, because he's apparently a
Our
narc.
offensive noble.
Yeah. It was a good thing you weren't on that jury.
Yeah.
no, I'm just saying apparently that was the standard. And maybe by the power of the jury that Scott and Charles have gotten the industry to wake up and do something right.
You know how many Jones Act verdicts have been out there that industry's never.
Not on the maintenance and cure rate.
Oh yeah, not on the puny finding. You're right.
Yeah.
There's no reason, as Peter pointed out, the dollars you're fighting about are so small. So everybody just like, yeah, here, take your maintenance and cure.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, like we'd have to remember to put the maintenance and cure in the jury charge because it was such a small amount compared. If someone has back surgery, you're talking hundreds of thousands, over $1 million.
Life care plans and
Yeah. So then you're like $30 a day for 2 years doesn't, add up to and it was just like the Jones Act jury charges are already complicated as they are with unseaworthiness. And so a lot of times we just let that one go.
If you're ever wanting to do some reading for fun, those the old Jones Act cases that talk about all of the things that are in the furtherance of the vessel, just hilarious case law. Yeah. So fun.
Yeah. Like what constitutes a vessel?
Well, isn't there the famous case about the ice cream scoop that got too sharp, cut a guy's hand? That means the ship's unseaworthy. The other one, a company was ordered to pay maintenance and cure because a seaman was out with a lady who may or may not have been a woman of the night, and her husband came home, and he ran out of a 2-story window and broke both his legs. And they were like, well, that wasn't in the furtherance of the vessel.
But it was egress.
And they were like, no, it actually was. Like, that is what do they call it? A peril of the sea. They say that
when they put him up in
the chance of a seaman being in a foreign port and maybe parking his car in their own garage, that is a known peril of the sea. And so you get maintenance and cure for that.
Oh, it's like a metaphor.
Remember that under the Jones Act seamen are considered wards of the court, meaning the court is actually supposed to look after them like a parent.
Yeah.
And so that's why the law usually always breaks in favor of the Jones Act seaman.
Yeah. Bill, who invented maintenance and cure?
Seaman.
The Romans did. That's how long it's been around.
Man, Kyle is
just laid it on us. Case law,
boom,
seaman. Just a bukkake over here.
There have been a lot of.
If you need, this could. I'm your source for all seaman questions.
Yeah. If you got questions about seaman, call Kyle Herbert.
Yeah. Never fails to hit. Making the Jones Act seaman.
Parking cars.
Okay. This is in the news a lot. There's a Delta crash in Toronto where the plane landed and I guess flipped over. Fortunately, no one was killed. But then there's a lot of news stories about how Delta offered everyone $30,000, no question asked.
Yeah.
No lawyer needed. Write the check.
That's actually like, from my reading of it, there was a handful that were taken to the hospital, but it said nobody had any sort of threatening injuries. $30,000. It's the number's getting far more reasonable than some other the buy amount that I've seen over the years that I can't talk about.
Yeah, if you think about it, I mean, $30,000 net today. Otherwise, you got to hire a lawyer. You got to pay 40%. You got to wait. You got expenses. So it's
probably not appropriate for every kind of claimant on that Delta flight, right? Like if you had prior injuries and they were aggravated by being hung upside down on an airplane, like psychological damages, I could see how some people would be like, that's not even close. But for your average Joe who wasn't hurt, I'd take $30,000 just for.
It was a far more reasonable amount than I expected.
What would that be? That would be like, well, it is Delta, not Southwest. That would be like 6 round trip flights.
Well, no, I was going to say if I'm the person, I'm like, no, I'm not signing that. But first class for life, unlimited, I'll take it.
There's no way they would do that.
You never know unless you ask.
There's stories about guys that did that. Like they paid the $100,000 for the lifetime first class.
He was like going to from New York to LA for lunch.
Nonstop.
I love it. And they ended up buying him out, or something happened where they had to cut it off because they were just bleeding money.
So I heard a story that might be apocryphal that as part of the
what?
Apocryphal?
Oh. No, I know what the word means. I just wasn't expecting
Silly.
such a
Might be a silly
thing.
story, maybe not true.
Go for it.
That Joe Jamail, as part of the Pennzoil Texaco settlement, was supposed to get lifetime flights on any Texaco corporate plane because at one point Texaco operated its own airline for executives, and that liability got passed down through multiple different mergers, and this private airplane company ended up holding the receipt for that and had to fly Joe wherever they wanted, and they only had it for like the last 10 years of his life. And I was like, man, that must be tons of money. And they were like, no, bro, Joe flies from Houston to Austin for the 6 home games. That's it.
Nice. At least he was reasonable with it.
He had a place in Galveston, so you don't need to fly there. I think that's where he lived.
Yeah.
Spending his free time. Well, a couple passengers have refused that offer and have elected to file suit instead, including an Austin area. Austin, man. I think there's also there's a Minneapolis where this flight had originated. So a couple lawsuits. So I'm sure there'll be more coming down the pipe. All right, Bill. Always never.
And do we know anybody that filed any of the lawsuits?
The lawyer is based in Austin. His name is Andres Pira, Ereira.
Don't know him.
Based in Austin. So
shout out, Andres. Give us a call.
there you go. Okay, Bill, tapping into your expertise.
Uh-oh.
Kim Kardashian was sued by a man she incorrectly labeled as a death row inmate. So
Hold on. Why is Kim Kardashian labeling people before they go die on death row?
because she is a noted activist in the field of prison reform.
Oh, she was trying to help him.
Yeah, I think didn't she go to law school and
I recall something about going to law school.
yeah, she famously lobbied President Trump to commute Alice Marie Johnson's life sentence. Regularly advocates for new trials or clemency for people on death row. So she posted a picture of a guy named Ivan Cantu and said, this guy's on death row. The state will execute him in 2 days. Signed a petition to demand that the DA request to withdraw execution date. However, the picture she posted was not of the Ivan Cantu is not the same as the death row inmate. So he's filed a complaint against her. Now her reps say that once she found out the mistake, she immediately took it down.
All that does is mitigate your damages.
Okay.
But she's still on the hook.
Okay. So taking it down
Doesn't do anything. Just the Texas Defamation Mitigation Act allows for you to make that correction, but all that does is mitigate your damages on the punitive side. It's you're still good to go forward. You still caused a ton of. So the Ivan Cantu that she posted is he an inmate?
Yes.
Well, he's nothing now.
Yeah. The one who's on death row, he was convicted in Dallas, or I guess Collin County, Dallas area. And that fellow actually was executed in February of 24. So and he was executed 2 days after she had posted the request to sign a petition. So the actual Ivan Cantu that's suing says
He's a New
I think he's from a different New York. He was residing in New York at the time. So anyhow, he filed his case in California. Texas, the Mitigation Act that you referred to, if someone sends a letter, hey, take this down, and the defendant takes it down, that removes punitive damages.
Yeah, it's like a corrective,
Okay.
a letter of correction, and that can mitigate it.
But you can still be sued for
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Still defame somebody and cause them damage.
You have a case where a public figure posted a picture of a wrong guy. Is that one still pending?
Still pending. Yep.
Okay.
It's good. I fairly certain we briefed all the TCPA. It's on appeal right now, but yeah, Mr. Musk, he did what he did.
Okay.
That's it. That's all the update we get.
I didn't.
I mean, it's the bad thing about those is like it gets filed and there's so much news attention, and then no discovery happens. You immediately go into briefing the Texas Citizen Participation Act. It's interlocutory and gets triggered straight up on appeal, and you just sit there for 2 hours.
Boring.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I know you think I live this sexy life. I don't. It's just a lot of reading at home by myself.
I will say this, Bill, with regard to your sexy lifestyle. I think that you're kind of like the Wallace Shawn of the podcast.
Who is that?
Yeah, who's that?
You know who Wallace Shawn is?
No.
Yeah, look it up.
Are you saying Wallace Simpson, Amanda? Is that a different cool person?
I think we have to turn off Amanda's.
All right. Yeah. All right.
I am not Wallace Shawn.
Are you? That's inconceivable.
There's nothing sexy of an appearance from Wallace.
Which show is he on?
That is inconceivable that you don't look like Wallace Shawn. Same hair?
The guy from Princess Bride? Is that what you're saying? Oh, okay, yeah. So he's in Princess Bride.
He wears a lot of turtlenecks. You wear a lot of turtlenecks?
I have one turtleneck I wore once.
Just saying.
Okay, that was kind of random, but well, maybe Josh can feather in a picture of this man. Former guest Dom Calhoun filed a case. This was an interesting one. Couple gets at VRBO or an Airbnb what would you call it? Vacation rental through Airbnb. And it's in Mexico. They report, it says, this is in a safe and central area. They get there and they note it's in Tulum. They tell Airbnb they've got a broken fence. Turns out there's also a broken backdoor lock. To complain, they complain about all that stuff. Nothing happens. Airbnb doesn't do anything. And then 4 days later, while they're still there, they're broken into and assaulted by some machete-wielding bad guys.
Yeah.
So they sued Airbnb first in federal court. Airbnb moved to dismiss for lack of personal jurisdiction. They refiled in Houston, and that was the news story. I went and looked at the status. Airbnb has now removed that to federal court, where they will seek to get the same ruling they got before, which is no jurisdiction. So here's a question for you legal scholars. How can a company like Airbnb that probably is booked, Texas residents book 1,000+ times a day and has properties that they book in Texas, how could they not be subject to jurisdiction, and even specific jurisdiction, because these Houston people booked it? I haven't looked at the briefing, but what are your general thoughts on that?
I suppose the argument would be, this is in Mexico. The owner of the property is in Mexico. The assailants are more than likely in Mexico. You guys went to Mexico. I'm assuming the Airbnb has all kinds of waivers in their contract that says you can't never sue us, no way, no how, no where.
I thought there'd be a choice of venue clause.
Yeah, I would too.
I thought it would be more of an independent contractor issue.
Could be.
And I'm also looking at this, just the South Texas Record website, and it says, in filing in Houston State Court, the couple say it has jurisdiction over Airbnb and Alejandro because the company transacts substantial business in Texas and they entered into rental contract while they were in Texas. The first part doesn't matter. The second part does, which is the contract that was entered into with Airbnb was entered into while they were in Texas. That would subject Airbnb to contacts in Texas that are directly related and would pass both specific. And I can't imagine you wouldn't be able to get general after the Ford appellate decisions on jurisdiction that came out in 2022 that we had.
You guys ever been to an Airbnb that went terribly wrong?
No. What do you do on your spare time?
I went to one. I got one for my son. He was living on Oahu for 3 months, working for one of my cousins, and so you can't find a apartment for 3 months. So I found this Airbnb. It looked nice. We go in there and everything checks out. There's some professional offices. Well, I get in the Uber to leave to go back to my hotel, and the Uber driver goes, "Hey, what were you doing in there?" I was like, "Oh, my son, just got him a place there. He's working for this semester." He's like, "That's a known area that men go to do things that are bad."
What did you were like? That's why I booked.
What do you mean? Be more specific, Peter.
Yeah, prostitutes.
Well, sex workers.
What town was this in?
Honolulu.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's in Honolulu, but Honolulu is on the island of Oahu.
We did one in Austin once, a really, really nice place with a pool, right above Barton Creek Drive, like where Romeo's used to be.
Yeah.
Like up on AZ Morton, like really nice, great view, pool, like 5 bedrooms. And it was like 8 people, 4 couples. And we went out before and we bought like all this food and we bought a whole bunch of barbecue at Cooper's and all this stuff, perishable food, crammed it in the fridge, left for the day and came back and like the washer, the dryer, and the refrigerator like all crapped out. Some circuit blew. And like we lost all of our stuff, and the owner was like, "Yeah, you know, it happens." And we were like, "So,
Listen, man.
we were like, well, we don't have any food or ice or like any way to get any drinks." And they were like, "Yeah, you know, we called Best Buy, and maybe like next week we're gonna get a new fridge." And I was like, "But we leave like in 2 days." And they were like, "Yeah,
Sorry. Four Seasons.
but I mean, it was
You want that kind of service, go to the Four Seasons.
it was a super nice place. Like we were paying like a lot of money."
Sounds like you should call Dom, which I do have to say, I pulled up the South Texas Record website for this lawsuit,
Yeah.
and it's just like a giant picture center stage of Dom.
you go.
Like, that's
Yeah.
like, whoever's running that show nailed him for it.
So a couple of things. The originally filed case had been dismissed, saying with the judge saying Airbnb is not subject to general nor specific personal jurisdiction. So I don't know what's going to happen. You alluded to this, Bill. General jurisdiction, there's I think a legitimate question on whether there is such a thing anymore, meaning if you're not a resident of the state of Texas or if you're a corporation also headquartered and registered here, if you can ever be held under a general jurisdiction standard to allow a plaintiff to sue that person in court. Is that what you were thinking?
I think when you start talking foreign corporations, I
Yeah.
think general goes out the door.
Yeah.
But general, if you're a corporation, not an LLC, if you're a corporation and you have a principal place of business here, or this is your state of incorporation, then yeah, you're still subject to general.
Got it. And then
But any major corporation is going to be, for the most part, filed in Delaware.
not anymore.
Well,
They're getting
branching out.
Elon's groups getting mad at him and coming down to Texas.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
It'd be good if he had assets in Texas.
He has them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
He's got a freaking spaceship you could go take.
Yeah, down
and that spaceship has like he also has like a robot that can catch spaceships.
I'd love a robot that can catch spaceships.
It's on my bucket list.
All right. This one was interesting. We've talked about some negligent security cases. This one, a family is suing the Oyo hotels, OYO.
Oyo, yeah.
And I think a manager, just to probably exactly beat the diversity jurisdiction to stay in state court. So they say this particular Oyo in that area, lots of high crime. They don't have proper security. But here's the hook. They say a car was stolen from the Oyo and was used.
Which one is it? Which
Elsewhere.
part of town?
And I don't know the address. But they're saying it was a car was taken from the Oyo hotel, used in a murder somewhere else of the plaintiff or the deceased. So that's a kind of I don't know. I thought that was a novel legal theory, because usually there's no security and someone comes in and kills a guest or something. Have you all heard of this?
Well, hold on. Car gets stolen.
From the Ojo parking lot that should.
No, it's a Y. No, I don't think it's a soft Y.
Oyo.
Oyo.
Ojo?
Ojo. You got it there. It's got a little.
So
Okay.
it's a pretty spicy name.
Okay, go ahead.
Somebody steals a car. Third party steals a car, goes and commits a murder.
Yeah. And they're suing the place where the car got stolen from.
Who's the plaintiff's lawyer?
That is the PMR firm. So I don't know. You got to take a shot. That was a unique or novel legal theory. So I guess it'll be tested in the court. That's in Harris County.
Do you know what court it's fell in?
No, you can probably
See
look
the
it up
case
while we're
OD,
talking.
but yeah.
You see the number on it?
Yeah, it's at the very bottom.
Okay. Let me say back to that one. That whole thing with my son in Honolulu, I don't blame Airbnb. I mean, they don't, that's kind of the.
Backpedaling. You hear this backpedaling,
No,
pal?
well, I was going to say,
You probably just reserved the one that was like at the right?
No, I looked it up. It looked fine. You wouldn't have known. You'd had to have some like inside, Uber drivers have all the best.
Wait, so but your son did stay there for 3 months.
No. I got him out. Unfortunately, my other cousin had a buddy who had an apartment, and it all worked out. But
maybe it's just the algorithm on your phone led you to that particular.
No, if they thought that's what Pete wants.
No, let me tell you.
Tell us, Pete. We'll listen.
This was interesting. Okay, before that, we were trying to find a place. We were remote. We were in Austin or Houston trying to find him a place remotely, looking all over for apartments, finds this one, looks good. It's cheaper than the other ones. And we go and get this stuff, get the pictures, everything. Here's the guy's license. Oh, yeah, this is good. Almost send a deposit before somewhere in my lawyer's cynical brain, I go, something's not adding up. So I go figure out total fake. And then I go look, and that's a total scam that happens in Hawaii because you have people like this that I'm not going to fly 8 hours out there to figure out if the place I'm going to come fly 8 hours to later is legit. And
yeah.
So I was grateful for, just for the fact that there was at least an Airbnb. That's why I had gone out there with him to go find the place. So
how long did you guys stick around before you moved him, allegedly?
I left before he moved. I think we were committed to like 14 days at that point.
Does Tulsi Gabbard?
The PMR lawsuit fell in Tanya Garrison's court. Shout out to Judge Garrison.
Yeah. Okay.
Friend of the show. Has she been on?
She's not. Would love to have her on.
She's great. Big Oklahoma State fan. Not my favorite thing about her.
Yeah, no, I've seen a number of attorneys that have to wear Oklahoma State gear at different times when schools lose.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's not. I mean, it's not. Like I said, it's not my favorite thing about her.
Exactly the same orange as UT.
I'm not sure what's wrong with you, but
all right. Next one. This is. I was not aware of this. That many independent school districts have filed suit against all the major social media companies for abusing the system and causing all kinds of problems to our kids, which then costs the school districts money to have to deal with it by way of, I guess, counseling and things like that. So HISD has just agreed to join the 200 school districts across the country that are pursuing these claims. I don't believe HISD has hired a lawyer yet. They just voted to do that.
And so what's the claim? That these screens are messing with kids' brains and they're not target students?
It's that the platforms are designed in a way to be addictive.
Sure.
And then are specifically targeted towards younger people, which makes them like antisocial and antisocial interactive, but also are imposing or that pose a distraction for any student.
Is the school standing that they have to provide more psychiatric or school counseling because these kids are all hopped up on their brick breaker and their whatever?
That's a good question. I don't necessarily know what the damage model is for the school district because everything I've read is just that it's made educating so much harder and it's designed to be addictive to young people. And it's not just young people. I don't know if y'all have seen Kyle Herbert on any social media platform, but he's everywhere always. So
trolling.
No, you haven't trolled in a while. I feel like you got soft with your good hair.
I'm completely off Twitter.
Off X.
I'm off X.
Are you on the blue ribbon or blue sky? Blue Sky?
I'm on Blue Sky, but I'm just a lurker. I never post anything.
Gross.
Well, yeah, I mean, social media.
What was the kind of competitor to X?
Vine.
No, the one that Meta or
Blue Sky.
Or yeah, was the Red Sky? Okay, Threads. That was it.
Threads.
Are y'all Threads users?
I was on Threads for a little while. I never check it.
I got a thread, but yeah, I'm like I don't have so much time in the day.
Yeah,
for like 99% of the time I open one of the apps, I forget that people that you post in stories. I forget to even look at that. I just start scrolling.
It's it's kind of sad. Twitter used to be fun, and now it's just horrible. But whatever.
Okay.
In Kyle's opinion, and that opinion is not an opinion of the Dirty Bird podcast for legal purposes.
Yeah. I still go on it, but it has.
Ooh, Pete, you're still Team Musk, huh?
No, I just I found yesterday I found some very good information by going on Twitter and
you did. I appreciate that. So I shout out to Pete. What I just said The complete
That's
opposite.
exactly that. I found the story I sent you because I was searching for news and that thing popped up like it had been posted 5 minutes before.
I actually did a little experiment before I got off Twitter because I thought I might be the problem, but as it turns out, it's just Twitter.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Okay,
Tell that to Ted Cruz's aide.
Yeah. Well,
another. Yeah, people have made some.
that's a slippery subject.
Okay, this one was interesting, probably out of all of our wheelhouses, but
That's not possible. We have range.
Texas couple sues city of San Marcos because the city of San Marcos, they bought a historical home.
Mhm.
They're wanting to do repairs or et cetera, which is fine. It's historical. It's protected by law. You can or can't do certain things. One of the things they wanted to do was take a decorative K, I think, or it was a letter. It was a Z.
Oh, thank God! It was going to be a KKK.
No,
I was gonna go buy it and put it up in the office.
But apparently this in this situation it has some implications to the KKK.
Oh, and I would.
Well, Z. It's there's the ZZZs.
Yeah.
What do they stand for?
Well, it was the guy that owned it was named Zimmerman, and he is.
What? I thought that name predominantly is a.
Yeah, but this person, according to this story, hosted Klan Day at his theater. He had a lot of ties to them back in the day. And this house, let me correct, it's not even historic, but it's in a historic district. So they have to get permission from the San Marcos Historic Preservation Committee just to remove this thing. And so they weren't allowed to do it. And they are now filing lawsuit against the city. So I don't know. I get historical significance and all that, but even if there weren't a negative connotation with that, I feel like taking a decorative piece of metal off the house does not alter the character of that house.
So just to be clear, so San Marcos owned this house.
No, they bought the house, and it's in a historic district.
San Marcos couple sues over historic balcony tied to the Klan.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is they sold the house.
Oh, they did? The city did?
No, I'm trying to figure out. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
No, I think they own the house and they're remodeling it. And
They
the
want to
city-
remove the Z.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they wanted to add the Z.
No, they want to remove it
So a private couple bought the home.
from another private person.
Oh, from another private person, and now
The San Marcos Historical Commission has jurisdiction over them since it's in this historical district to approve, kind of like it's like a super HOA that you can't alter the house without their permission.
Yeah, that's why you can't. That's why you can't tear down bungalows in the heights and build townhomes.
so there's as I'm seeing it now, there's a little piece of metal work that like forms like a balcony, and it's got a little silver Z in it.
Oh, it's small.
And it's behind a tree, and Frank Zimmerman installed it, and they're like, nah, the Z represents the Klan, because Zimmerman was a total dirtbag.
I mean, Zimmerman had ties to the Klan and hosted Klan rallies and screenings of the film The Birth of a Nation in the 1920s.
Yeah, well, so did Woodrow Wilson.
But I mean,
But shout out to Woodrow Wilson. We had a trivia team name at a bar during law school called the Morning Woodrow Wilsons. It was fun.
We're the worst presidents.
but even if it didn't have the negative connotations, I mean, what would be so wrong with just removing a relatively small Z from the?
I think that's what they were asking the commission, but the commission's like, no, let's keep it.
Yeah.
I don't. The question is, why do they want to keep it?
They don't want to keep it. They want to remove it.
No, why does the commission not want it to be taken down? Because it's not like it's like a railing outside of a window. It looks like an old like where you would pot plants.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's it. So,
Well, we need to talk about Jerry Jones.
yeah. Anyhow, that had gone up to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which had had said their case can keep going. Yeah, this was just, I don't know. I put this in here. Jerry Jones has an assault case against him that's been pushed back again and again and again. It's been pending since 2020. It's kind of Bill, to your point on the slap stuff. I mean,
How old is Jerry?
I don't know.
Gotta be in his mid 80s.
Yeah, fairly old. I mean, this is something that happened in 2018, and the lawsuit was filed in 20, and it's been pushed back again. So I think
82.
You guys, I think, probably get frustrated with and I know your clients do, with the speed of justice at the court. So is there anything a plaintiff lawyer can do to expedite a case to where you can get?
There's a filing that you can ask for expedited handling of your case and limited discovery. Now, no courts actually follow it. But no, there's really nothing you can do other than vote for people who are inclined to expand courts. I also think that there are a certain amount of judges that, to be honest, view judicial inefficiency as the most efficient way to manage a docket, right? If you can't get any relief from the court, you're inclined to work things out on your own. All I try and do is just be as ready as I possibly can be in case the judge says, let's go.
I just think the witness list on this case is interesting.
Lay it on me.
Because this forceful tongue and mouth kiss and forcible grab and grope was alleged, all of those, was in front of several witnesses, including Jason Garrett, Ezekiel Elliott, Tyrone Crawford, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Jerry Jones's wife. So that's what that is according to. Jesus, I'm sorry that I didn't look at my source first.
According to Bro
that's
Bible.
According to Bro Bible. Shout out to Bro Bible for that. But yeah.
So Kyle, the expedited trial thing, I looked at that in detail. It sounds like if you designate your case as a level 1 case that way and do all the requisite things, I didn't think the judge had any discretion, but to set you within a set period of time.
I think the judge has to set you in a set time, not set you by a time.
Okay.
So I think the judge has to give you a trial setting within 6 months, or the setting has to occur within 6 months, not the trial setting.
But no one has challenged a judge refusing to honor the deadlines in that statute, which is interesting. There's no one talks about it.
For a while ago, years ago, I would plead it, and then and I would send the very abbreviated discovery. I'd offer the 1 or 2 depots that you're allowed to take, and then I would file a letter with the clerk. I'd say, I want to get your first available setting under the rule, and then the clerk would go, okay, well,
that was it.
Sounds good.
In the store.
Yeah, right. And then you'd call and be like, hey, I'm supposed to be like at the first trial setting, and they're like, yeah, well, right?
Yeah, there's no one told the judges how this works, or I guess, or maybe.
I'll tell you, the reason I thought of it is there were 2 judges that told me to do it. They said this is a unique tool, and so I did it, and nothing ever.
Turns out wasn't that unique.
Turns out it wasn't that interesting.
Well,
what are you going to do? Judge, I'll mandamus you if you don't give me a trial setting? And how that trial's going to go?
You have to plead.
Unless the judge asks you to do it.
You have to plead $250,000 or less. Is that the jurisdictional?
Yeah, I think it's $250,000 or less. And like I said before, you're limited to 10 interrogatories, 10 requests for production, which, by the way, now, fine. The mandatory disclosures covers most of the stuff you're going to ask anyways. And it gives you you only get to take a couple of depots. But I've never been able, it has no teeth, right? There's no enforcement mechanism.
I don't know why.
Although I tell you what, though, it is fun if you plead that and then the defendants send you their standard 25 interrogatories and 50 requests for production. I just send a letter back and says, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to do that under this rule. And then, of course, they never read anything. And then they go to trial and they're like, Mr. Herbert never answered the discovery. I'm like, well, it's because you didn't follow the rules. That could be an interesting trick that I've used.
I'm curious why more plaintiff lawyers don't file in county court at law.
I can tell you back the last time I thought about doing it, it was because I was concerned about the judges and the staffing that they had.
What's wrong with the judges?
I don't know. I haven't been in a county court at law judge in a long, long time. But back in the day, there were some folks that I'd be like, meh.
I think they've been the current judges get very good marks.
Yeah.
And so when people would say, well, I think you're capped at $250,000 in these courts. But the vast majority of car wreck cases are minimum policy car wreck.
Sure.
Now, let me ask you this. Say I file a case in county court on behalf of 100 plaintiffs. all of which each individual claim is under $250,000.
I think it's
interesting.
I'm sure there's language in the statute that talks about the aggregate claim.
Yeah. But I'll say the county courts, one, I'm told the judges are very good, but two, they push people to trial and honor trial dates. And
Do you get 12 jurors in county court?
Another question, maybe 6, but
That's just 6 less people I got to convince.
Yeah.
How awesome I am.
yeah, this, I don't know. I some law firms do it. But
I have friends in Dallas that do it all the time, but I think they have a lot of those folks have really good familiarity with those judges.
Something to think about. Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap up unless y'all have anything you want to add on our, it's kind of a light news. I mean, we hadn't talked news in a month and there hadn't been a ton.
There's been a ton, and there's been a lot of news out there, just maybe not. I'd love at some point to talk about the legality of what's going on with the government and shut down entities that Congress paid for.
We don't talk politics.
But I mean, I don't need to hear about it like from a political sense, like in a constitutional way.
Well, there's rulings left and right on all different stuff. I want to give a shout out to new judge. I may mispronounce his name, Nathan Milliron.
Yeah, Milliron
In the 215.
I thought it was like Milliron.
Milliron.
Well, he is streaming.
Yes,
And for all of us law nerds who like to watch what's going on at the courthouse online, there's a handful of judges that still stream, and it's extremely helpful.
I was
Everyone.
watching a proceedings in Milliron's court yesterday. No, I guess on Monday.
Yeah.
Super interesting. At some point, every court was streaming.
During COVID.
Did a bunch of people just decide they didn't want to do it anymore?
I guess so. So
Ooh.
I think it's very helpful. And the new judges that I've had the opportunity to meet, I've been giving my pitch to them how helpful it is. And I think it's helpful to them
For sure.
so litigants can kind of see how they operate and
It's wonderful.
pick up some things. So,
And I think it's in conformity with the idea of having an open courts, like having an open courtroom. I think they should do more of it. And
I'll remind the lawyers, though, that the cameras are on
all the time.
So if you're in there, don't say mean things about Kyle because he may be watching.
Well, interestingly enough, I was watching Milliron's thing, and there was a receiver who was in place, or a trustee, and hearing ends, judge gets off the bench, and the trustee immediately turns to the lawyers who've been on like an hour and a half long hearing, and the trustee is like, "Listen here, dirtbags." But it was like she tore into these two guys, and I was like, I don't know if she knows the camera is still on.
Ooh.
Okay, Bill, you've been feverishly looking at something. So before we close,
No, I forgot that I got called for comment from Law 360 about that removal, that trial that I was currently in. So I was just seeing if
Okay,
it did.
well, Bill, you'll be in the news next time.
Got a great quote in there.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, with that, we'll follow us, like us, iTunes, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, or wherever you get your podcasts.
There you go.
No,
All right, guys. And the YouTube, of course, follow us on YouTube, click the like button, and you'll get all these episodes as they come out. All right. Thanks. We'll see you next week in the next couple weeks with a lot of exciting guests coming up. So stay tuned.